All right, everybody, welcome back. Good afternoon. We have more edge rushers to look at. Always a fun position to evaluate. Always an interesting position to consider adding on in. For my money, the edge rusher position is one of those positions where you could always use more help, pretty much. It's hard to have too much. So we've looked at the star level free agents. We've looked at the high end starter free agents. Now we're going to be doing kind of the mid-level starters. These guys are good. They're probably about as good as current Derek Hall or Boye Mafe, somewhere in between those two guys maybe. They're better than Draymond Jones, but it's very unlikely you're going to get anything over the top out of these guys at this point. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe you hit on a guy that's just getting ready to break out and they just haven't quite put it all together yet. So we'll see. But for the most part, these are guys you just kind of add to the stable. And it's not a bad idea, right? We all know the Seahawks will drop Draymond Jones this offseason. And once they do, they could choose the quantity over quality route at edge rusher. It's not a bad idea. I don't think it's a derogatory thing. Here are some options to sign in free agency if that's the way you want to go. First guy is going to be Mr. DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence, about to turn 33. He's been in the league longer than I thought. I'm surprised he was drafted in 2014, but he has been around for a minute. Had a real nice career in Dallas, probably about to come to an end here. Made the Pro Bowl 4 times. Competed for Defensive Player of the Year back in 2017, actually. Probably a lot of people don't remember that, but he's been a guy that has produced heavily for that team in the past. He's been a guy who has kind of pulled back a little bit in recent years and still been a very good, very effective player that has been, maybe you could say, pushed to the back of the room a little bit by Micah Parsons being as good as he's been, but he's still providing excellent play over on the other side. And yeah, he can still play, but you have to wonder if those days are coming to an end, especially when he just, after 2 straight seasons of playing every game, had a season where he played 4 games and didn't really do all that much. Not that it really means that much because he didn't play enough, but PFF did not like his 2024 at all. 56.8, not good. I mean, that's 167 snaps. It's not nothing, I guess. But the year before that, he was elite. He was one of the best edges in the league, according to PFF. Run defense in particular, phenomenal stuff on 600 snaps. And he was a key part of an elite Cowboys defense that year. So he has recently put up some really good results, but he's also recently done this. And while I don't think this play is reflective of who he is, the injury could be. Botrax says 2 years, 24 million, so that's 12 million a year. Again, it seems steep for a guy who's about to turn 33. You know you're taking a bit of a gamble here, but this is probably about the going rate for players of this caliber. And I'm sure that you're going to be a little uncomfortable paying him based off of 2022 and 2023, but so be it to a certain extent, right? You have to hope that 2024 is a fluke. Somebody out there is going to, and that team is going to give Lawrence some money. Next guy, Charles Omenihu. Omenihu, Super Bowl champion a couple years ago with the Chiefs. Played in the Super Bowl this year, but he hasn't really done a lot of playing over the last 2 years, ever since he signed with the Chiefs. He was good in 2023, but he only played 11 games, and this last year he only played 6 games. I think he started the season on IR and didn't start playing until, late November. So it was kind of a weird year for him. It took him all year to really get going. And by the time he did get going, the playoffs were already here. And he is a good player. He's still relatively young. He's going to turn 28 in August. So age is not a big concern. He's had pretty good seasons for Houston and San Francisco in recent memory. But we are again contending with the 2024. Like DeMarcus Lawrence, he didn't do a ton. Now, the PFF grade in 2024 was decent, 64.7 works, over 200 snaps. I mean, it was at least efficient, even if he wasn't putting up numbers. Year before that, a little bit better, 66.3. Still not anything that you're crazy over the top excited about on 400 snaps. But the thing is, theoretically, he should be hitting his prime. So his best play and his best endurance should be now. So again, you're kind of taking it on a leap of faith that Omenihu is going to round into the player that he would have been last year if he was healthy, and that he will continue to advance on what he was in 2023. So Charles Omenihu, Spotrac, 4 years, 47.3 million. No joke. That seems like a lot. It's only 11.8 million per year. That's really not that bad. But when you crunch it all together, you look at this and you're kind of like, am I really going to give almost 50 million a year to a guy whose career high is 7 sacks and is coming off a year where he did very little? I mean, that's what it takes. These edge players do not come cheap. So probably a little too much for me. Yeah, but I do see some wisdom. Haason Reddick is our next guy to consider here. Another guy where you have to, well, that seems to be the theme with this group, right? We know they're good. We know they have been good, but are they going to be good for us? About to turn 31 in late September, so right about the time the season starts, he'll be 31. Last year, didn't really do anything. 1 sack, played 10 games, started 2, 14 tackles. Very quiet, and we know why. He sat out a lot of the season because he wanted to get paid. And he didn't get paid, and finally he gave in and came back so he could at least get the season accrued, but didn't make a big impact when he did. Year before that, great. Played all 17 games, 11 sacks, Pro Bowler. Year before that was in competition for Defensive Player of the Year, 16 sacks. 11 sacks in Carolina the year before that, 12 and a half the year before that in Arizona. So we know what he can do at his best. But there has been great resistance to paying him his money, no matter how good he is. Like, think about it like this. 2020, breakout year, 12 and a half sacks for the Cardinals, gets 1 year with Carolina. 11 sacks, goes to Philly for 2 years. They don't extend him. I think they give him a 3-year deal after 2021, if I remember correctly. I think it was a 3-year deal, so he got something. But then he had 2 really, really strong years, 27 sacks across 2 seasons, and he wanted an extension, and the Eagles said, no, we're going to trade you. And then the Jets were like, we're not going to extend you either, so come and play on the last year of your deal, or else I guess we can roll over to 2025. He finally gave in. But what is the reason why nobody's willing to pay him? It seems to be there's a very, very bad stigma around his run defense. He's getting these sacks at the expense of playing the run. And if you're going to get involved with Haason Reddick, then you have to be aware of that. Now, maybe he's doing that to hunt sacks so he can get paid, and maybe he won't do that after he gets paid, but that's the thing. It's a leap of faith. PFF did not like his 2024 at all. 53.5, really bad. 400 snaps is not a nothing sample size either. Year before that, they did like him. 75.2, that's good, very good. 861 snaps. So we know what he's capable of theoretically, but we also know the potential downside, and we know that other teams out there and teams that are, the Eagles are smart, right? At least we can say that, right? The Eagles are a smart organization. They decided to trade him, even though they were a team that was theoretically going all in to win the Super Bowl last year, because they didn't value him that much. Anyway, they're giving him a 1-year prove-it deal, 11.7 million. That's probably about right, and that sure doesn't feel very good for anybody, does it? I mean, the 1-year deal makes sense, but the downside is then the big cap hit hits right then and there. You can't really do a lot to get out of that cap hit in 2025. You can do void years, but that's only going to help so much. And you're still paying him at a high rate. You're just forcing him to prove it before you give him a long-term deal. And we already know what this guy's capable of doing when he's not happy with his contract. I don't know if he's going to be happy with this. So, I don't know, man. It's another one where you have to take a leap of faith, and I'm not really feeling like taking that leap of faith. All 3 of these guys, to me, just seem, squeeze your eyes shut, cross your fingers, and push the button. I don't know if I want to do that right now. We don't need to. Last guy, this is the one guy who's kind of in a different boat, Azeez Ojulari. Azeez Ojulari, second round pick of the Giants back in 2021. He's turning 25 in June, so still very young. And he never was able to really recapture the success of his rookie year when he had 8 sacks. And there have been some problems. He has not played a full season the last 3 years. Injuries have been an issue. And I think we're now at the point where we can safely conclude that he is at the very least, a medical red flag, in that he might just be a guy that can't play a full season, but he's still been relatively productive when he has been on the field. Last year, 6 sacks in 11 games on a terrible team that really struggled to force teams to throw the ball very much. So, he again, there is a little bit of a leap of faith you have to make, but it's a different leap of faith. It's not, is he still good? You know he's still good. The real question seems to be, can he stay on the field? PFF, not a big fan. I will say that. 56.4 last year, and the year before that, 51.8. Now, this was one of the years he didn't play that much, so there are good PFF grades in the past with him, but recently they haven't been a big fan. Obviously, edge players benefit when they're surrounded by better stuff. And other than getting to play with Dexter Lawrence, there isn't much Ojulari benefits from in his favor right now, right? Like, it's mostly just playing with bad teammates and bad coaches. Botrack goes 2 years, 11.1 million. That's 7.6 million a year. Yeah, I would actually dig that. I think that would be a good deal. I think that would be totally fair. I think that if you got Azeez Ojulari on a deal like this is significantly lower than any of the 3 other hypothetical deals. You could give yourself freedom to move on after a year if it doesn't work out, and you could pull a Nwosu and extend him after 1 year if he does really great. So I like this one. This is one I'd be turning over if I was John Schneider. This is the one I'd be pursuing. There's obviously some concerns, but if there weren't concerns, he'd be getting a lot more money than this. Ojulari could be like what Nwosu was a few years ago, a guy we signed to a 2-year deal for decent money, and we just see what happens. Either way, it's not a big deal. If he doesn't work out great, then we have other edge players we can lean on, and it can be a 1-year deal in essence. If he plays great, then get to extend the guy as he hits his prime. Again, he's not turning 25 until June. So this is one that would get me pretty excited. All right. That's my thoughts on this group. Let me know what you guys think, though. I'll see you guys later. More edge rushers coming soon. Go Hawks. And yeah, Ojulari. I think that would be the one if you decide to pursue this selection of talent.